Welcome back to All Things Generic, episode 12. Thank you for joining the podcast where we try to normalize the struggles with food because it's not a topic that everybody talks about, but we're going to talk about it here. So thank you so much for joining. If you haven't been before, my name's Eric. I am the host of this wonderful show. That is my dog Maggie, who is very, very interested in what I'm about to talk about. Actually, I don't think she cares. I think she wants food because it's almost time to feed her. But that being said, what do we have in store for you today? What we're going to do, I will do a weekly recap. Not going to do quite as extensive as I've done in the past, but we'll still do a weekly recap. How did my week go this past week? Second thing I want to talk to you about, I want to talk to you the idea about diet versus maintenance. Maintenance. What does that mean? What does that look like? How should that impact our thinking? And then finally, I want to talk about food and relationships. And by relationships, I mean relationships with people. And how does food or the struggle with food impact our relationships? And finally, we may talk a little bit about Mission 299. What in the world is that? Well, if you're interested, and you should be interested, you're going to have to wait to the end to find out. So, on to the show. That was free. You're welcome. That was, in the biz, they call that a musical interlude. Actually, I have no idea if they call that or not. I just made it up. But for us today, that was a musical interlude. All right, let's get into the weekly recap. How did my last week go? Well, it went better than the week before. But it still wasn't great. The highlights, I would say, man, my working out has been absolutely stellar. I've been pretty excited about my workout routine. Every morning, 7 o'clock, in the gym, in the garage gym, working out. My dad has actually come down and joined me in the mornings now. That's been tons of fun, getting to work out with him. And by down, I mean down the street. They live down the street from me. So workouts have been going really, really strong. And actually, I'm pretty excited because I'm, for the first time in my life, probably, maybe college, but I can actually feel that I'm building muscle. My arms are getting bigger. I'm just getting more solid, and that is pretty exciting. And I'm getting stronger too. I remember when I first started working out. This wasn't the first time I've ever worked out in my life, but back in October, November, when I said, all right, my new identity is I'm a fitness guy. I'm a guy who works out. I was doing bench, but I was doing my dumbbells, and I was probably doing maybe 40, 50 pounds. I guess 80 to 100 pounds total. But now I'm putting up 165 like 10 times. Although 165 got me this week. I only got 7. But yeah, just seeing a lot of gains, strength-wise. My deadlifts are up to 275, which is pretty exciting. And honestly, that felt fairly, I hate to say easy, but I was able to put that up 3 times. So excited about seeing the gains there. And just overall, everything that I've been doing in terms of lifting, I'm seeing some really good gains. How about the food? How's the food going? Because fitness generally isn't my problem. Although cardio, I still need to do cardio. I hate cardio. Well, let me rephrase that. I hate steady state cardio. It just drives me bananas. It's so boring. I don't know how you folks. I got a friend in Ireland who runs marathons and he loves running. And bro, I just don't get how you do it. It's too boring for me. So I need to figure out cardio. I need to get that going better for sure. I don't know. We'll figure it out one day. But the food, how is the food going? So if you were with us last episode, then you know that, man, I had been struggling a lot in the eating area. Snacking, I was not eating healthy. I had fast food a couple times. I went off the rails. I think I'm pretty sure I said that or something along those lines. Wasn't going well. So my goal this week is like, okay, well, let's get back on the rails. Let's get back on the track. Let's go back to what we were doing that was successful. I did some meal prepping. So made some meals on Sunday, so I had them for the week, so it was a lot easier to stay on track. And I would say for the most part, I did really well this week. My I would say my main meals now are actually trending in a very, very positive direction. My breakfast is super easy. It's just scrambled eggs and some fruit. I do that every single morning. I don't mind it. I love eggs. Not an issue for me to eat the same thing every week. So that's been good. Lunches have been something like I get the canned chicken breast from the store, obviously, and I usually throw that in with some avocado, some spinach, maybe some corn, and just kind of eat that as a salad. That's been pretty good. In my dinners this week, I had grilled some chicken thighs and marinated them. Hey, you can see Chopper. He's down here. That's my other dog, Chopper. He's my buddy. But anyway, I marinated them in some Thousand Island dressing. I know, not the best. But hey, I'm going for progress, not perfection. So for those of you looking for perfection, go to a different podcast. Just kidding. Don't leave. I want you here. So I did well. I did well with that. Maggie, are you saying that I didn't do well? Yeah. Are you saying I didn't do well? She might be saying I didn't do well because she's not wrong. I did well for the most part. For my main meals, rocking and rolling. Snacking and dessert remain. I can't get away from the sugar. I'm still struggling with the sugar. I was away from it for about a week or two. I was doing well. I love myself to have a little bit of it, and holy shit, is it hard to get away from it. I know it's got addictive tendencies, although that's come under some dispute lately. So yeah, that continues to be my battle. Snacking and desserts. I like sweet stuff. So yeah, that's been the challenge. That was my week. So my week, again, pretty good. Worked out nearly every single day except for the day that we had a hurricane. Played disc golf this weekend, both days. So I walked a lot, probably 6 to 8 miles this weekend. Nah, probably 4 to 6, probably not 6 to 8, 4 to 6. So yeah, that was my week. How was your week? How are you doing on your journey? I'd be curious. If you could drop a comment in the section below, that'd be fantastic. We'd love to hear how your week is going. Hey, and if you like the podcast, man, it'd be great if you could like it, subscribe, maybe even share it with somebody. That would be really cool too. All right, on to our first topic of the day. Our first topic is this idea of diet versus maintenance. I'll be honest with you. The word diet for me over the last, I would say 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, really kind of became a bad word. I didn't like it. I don't like the idea of dieting. I don't like the idea of these. And of course, when I think of diet, I associate it with these fad diets. These, the keto, the paleo, the you name it, Atkins. I'm showing my age. I don't even know what the latest fads are. Intermittent fasting, I know, is a recent fad. But I think diet is a good thing. And I've come to terms with this because I've been stuck for the last 2 months or so at right in the 350s. I'm fluctuating anywhere between like 350, 355. And I've realized, I was listening to another podcast, American Glutton podcast by Ethan Suplee. Fantastic podcast. Learned a lot. He was the actor, the big guy. He was on Remember the Titans. Big dude. He was over 400 pounds, maybe over 500 at his heaviest. And he's down to two something. But he's talked a lot about very similar topics to me about food addiction, and it's probably where I got the inspiration for my podcast. But he's talked a lot about diet and maintenance. And as I thought about it, and being in my stuck phase over the last 2 months, Although I think I did. I think I actually broke it and then I celebrated with cookies, and I haven't gotten under it since then. uh, but the idea of diet versus maintenance, and so what I started thinking about was like, well, you know what? When we think about diet, what is a simple way that we can think about this? And so for me, when I'm thinking about diet, I'm simply talking about restricting calories for the purposes of losing weight. Because we know that calories in over calories out, that's the linchpin. That's the most simplistic way to think about losing weight. You have to eat less calories than you are expending in the day. You have to. If you're eating more calories than calories you're burning, you're going to gain weight, which, hey, I'm an expert in that, unfortunately. But diet, restricting calories for purposes of losing weight. That's how we're going to talk about on this show, restricting calories. So what is maintenance then? Well, maintenance is adjusting or it's eating healthy or eating to maintain. So if that's diet, what's maintenance? Well, maintenance, for my purposes, how I'm defining it, is it's how I'm eating to maintain the current weight that I'm at. Now, does this mean I get to eat whatever I want? No. It doesn't mean that I get to eat whatever I want. But it does mean that if I'm not in a restriction phase, I can be a little bit more lenient. I can be a little bit more open with my eating because I'm not in a restriction phase. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm just trying to maintain. Now, that can get tricky because then it's like, oh, hey, let's go get the ice cream. Let's go get the chicken wings. Let's go get the pizza. I can't do that. My maintenance has to be around my new identity of how I eat. I eat to fuel my body. I eat for maximum performance and peak efficiency. That's the new identity that I'm trying to solidify. It's been a struggle. I haven't done it. But that's what I'm trying to solidify. So when I think about maintenance, it's not that I'm going to go off whole hog and go eat whatever I want to, whenever I want to, as much as I want to, because that's what got me into this in the first place. But it is a little bit less restrictive than dieting. So, as I'm thinking about over the last 2 months, how have I been stuck? Yeah, I've been stuck. But why have I been stuck? And I think it's because it's the amount of calories that I'm consuming. And it's the snacking and desserts like that, without a doubt. With hands down, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's a problem. However, I started, especially this week, my goal was I was going to say, okay, well, why don't I do about 2,000 calories a day? Which, after talking to my friend Josh, he's like, hey, why don't you actually check that out? Because I think that might be too low for you. And he was right. I checked out online, and I should probably be around 2,600 calories a day, which makes a big difference. But what I noticed was, I started paying a little bit more attention to my calories. And what I found was, there's a lot of hidden calories in there that I wasn't taking into account. That I'm actually probably eating a lot more calories than what I realized. And even though it was relatively healthy stuff, except for the snacking and the desserts, of course, I was hitting my calorie threshold. And that's why I'm not losing weight, because I'm not in a deficit. And some of these hidden calories, like when I've been making my scrambled eggs in the morning, I'll throw some butter in the dish. Probably throwing a little bit too much butter in the dish, if I'm being honest. And man, those calories add up quick. 1 tablespoon, 100 calories. And a tablespoon is not that big. So, I also was throwing some shredded cheese in the eggs, and that adds up quick. For lunch, I was doing this. I found the steamed corn, and I was doing a whole bag of steamed corn. It's probably 2 servings, maybe 3. I need to go back and look. But it was about 300 calories for the entire bag. Throw that in there. I was doing canned chicken, and that was about 300 calories. There's 600 calories already just between those two things. Then you throw in an avocado. There's another 200 to 300 calories. Throw spinach in there, some tomatoes and onions. Those are probably lower calories. Throw some ranch dressing on there because I need something to make it tasty. And damn, you're already up to like 800 calories. I was like, oh shit. No wonder I'm not losing weight. There's a lot of hidden calories here. Or that Thousand Island dressing that I marinated my chicken thighs in. That also has a lot of hidden calories. So, all that to say, I don't know what my point is. My point is you have to restrict calories to lose weight. There's no other way around it. Now, you may not have to count calories all the time if you can get into a really good routine. Like for me, I know my breakfast. My breakfast is nearly the same every single day. So I don't have to count that every single day. I know what it is. And if maybe you have some go-to meals that you like to eat that you know, okay, that's going to be 500 to 600 calories. That makes it a heck of a lot easier. Now, thankfully, I can eat the same thing almost every single day. So it doesn't bother me, and that makes counting calories a lot easier, and there's a nice shorthand there. But here's the problem that I found. It's so funny. No, it's not funny. It sucks. But as soon as I start to try to restrict calories, I just want to eat everything in sight. Even though I'm not hungry, even though I don't feel hungry at all, the very act of restricting calories, the very act of saying no to myself, I just want to eat everything in sight. It's such a challenge. Now, thankfully, what I've done is I've had a really, really strong discipline. Well, we'll call it mediocre discipline of not having bad food in the house. Again, the snacking and the desserts, those are there. Generally, those are ordered on the day that I'm trying to eat them because I try not to keep them in the house. But anyway, I've been doing a lot better job of not having crap in the house that I can just snack on and eat. That's terrible for me. So that's the challenge. That's where I'm at now. I'm still working on that new identity around food. This one's harder for me than the fitness was. So I think I need to be a little bit more disciplined about it. I probably need to start journaling every day. I've only journaled a couple times about it. I need to start journaling every day, I think. And really, really kind of work that out. That's gonna be important. Because man, if I can make this change mentally where I eat to fuel my body and I eat for maximum performance and peak efficiency, that is so different. Like that mindset is so different. The foods that I eat will be so different if I can really solidify that new identity. So stay tuned for that. We'll see how that goes. I will keep you up to date. I'll keep talking about it, the new identity, and how I'm going about trying to establish that. All right, let's go on to topic number two. Number two. That was interesting. Food and relationships. Man, this has been a very interesting topic as of late. I've talked with a couple friends of mine who have kind of been sharing some of their thoughts and some of their feelings around how food and relationships have impacted them. And I've had some of the similar challenges around that. But here's the situation. Here's what I think is interesting about this situation. One, it's a tricky situation, right? Food, the struggle with food, the struggle, if we want to call it food addiction, is still not a mainstream topic. It's not a mainstream topic. We're not talking about it as a society. It's probably like 10 to 20 years behind alcohol and drugs. Alcohol and drugs are pretty much more mainstream now. But I mean, obviously there's still stigma, there's still challenges. I'm not saying that it's super easy to talk about that stuff, but it's more in the mainstream. We are talking about it. And alcohol's AA. AA is a thing now. You have outspoken celebrities. I listen to Dax Shepard on Armchair Expert, and he talks openly about his addiction, which has been a huge help for me. I can't thank him enough for the openness that he's had. Man, if I could get him on this podcast, oh, wow, that would be talk about a moonshot. That would be amazing, though, to talk to him about this. Anyway, but he's been very, very open about that. But food is not, it's not a common topic. And it can make relationships really, really hard. Because food is a big deal in this country. Food is a big deal for a lot of people. And when you're struggling with food like I am, it can impact a lot of things. I mean, we've talked about this in a lot of ways already, or we talked a lot about examples about how, when people want to meet up, what do they want to do? Hey, let's go grab a drink, or let's go grab some food, or let's go, have some food again. I would say over the last month or last couple months, or since starting this podcast, I've had at least 3 or 4 people say, hey, you know what? You offered a walk. Why don't we go for a walk? Let's meet up and go for a walk. Or let's meet up and go play disc golf. Or let's meet up and go do something else. So that is changing, on the micro scale, which is pretty exciting. But food is it's intertwined in our daily lives. And I was talking to a lady friend of mine earlier last week, and she was telling me about a relationship that she had that ended up ending because in this particular situation, the guy was a bigger guy and he was working on losing weight. Now, he was on a very, very strict regimen that sounded near impossible for me. I mean, I could never have done it, but he was on a very strict regimen and he couldn't share a meal with my friend. And the challenge was the way that my lady friend showed affection to her men was by cooking for them. Well, there is a problem because he wasn't eating what she was cooking. Now, you could also have the conversation, and her and I actually did have this conversation. It's like, well, what if we had the conversation? I think there's 2 conversations you could have. One is, well, is there any other way that you could show affection? Because right now I'm struggling with my weight and I'm really trying to get this down. And is there some other way that you could, that at least for the time being, that we could shift how you show affection? And that was a struggle. That was a struggle. And so, again, they ended up ending the relationship. I don't know if it was because of that specifically. I'm not trying to get into that many details, but just trying to use that to highlight, man, that it's a really big challenge. Eating a meal together can be a very intimate thing. But if you're struggling with food, that's a very different thing. My meals right now are pretty generic. See what I did there? Most of the time it's some kind of meat and vegetables. Like, I'm not trying to have anything fancy. And so that could impact the relationship. Now, I think the other thing that you could think about too, and again, this depends on the relationship. It's like, well, can you, if showing affection is if cooking is how you show affection, can you join me on my journey, or can you help me on my journey by cooking me healthy meals? Now, again, this situation was different because this guy was on a very regimented, I think he was eating just like ground beef all the time or something. But for me, like, for example, if I were in a relationship, I might say, hey, well, can you meet me halfway on my journey? Maybe help, if you want to, can you help cook something for me? But something that's on my plan or something like that. Even that kind of feels a little bit weird to say, but that's where this gets tricky, right? Like, if you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody, drugs and alcohol, it seems like that's a lot easier to avoid, right? I mean, you don't have to, and I've talked about this before. You can abstain from drugs and alcohol. You can't abstain from food, right? You can't. You're gonna die. But again, it seems to be a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more acceptable in a relationship to say, no, I don't drink. I can't drink. I'm sober. I'm trying to, or I need to stay away from it. Whereas if I say nope, I can't have much of any of that because I struggle with food. Man, there's so much shame and embarrassment around that. Um, I think what's also, so that's, we talked a little bit about the dating scene. Well, what about the family scene? I was talking to another friend of mine who's trying to lose weight. He's got a couple pounds he needs to lose, and he said, "Oh man, the family brought in some really good snacks again. There were some good pastries and donuts and whatever the others. I don't know what they all were, but just highlighting this challenge of, if you're on your own personal journey, but you're in relationship with somebody or with people that aren't on the same journey you are, man, how challenging that can be, right? Like, I mean, I face this to a lesser degree at work, where sometimes we'll have food celebrations where we'll have a pizza party for something, and pizza is not a food that I can eat. Pizza's a trigger food for me. I have to stay away from it because I don't want just one slice. I don't understand just one slice. I want the whole damn pizza. So I have to stay away from that. But when you're in a relationship, or when you're in a family relationship, if they're not on the same journey with you, how do you have that conversation? What do you do? Do you have the conversation? Are you willing to have the conversation? I've had to have that conversation with my family. Like, no, I'm not going to have that dessert. No, I'm not going to come down for fill in the blank. And that's not easy. It's not a fun place to be. I've skipped Thanksgivings multiple times because, frankly, a holiday that celebrates binge eating, really not the best thing for somebody who struggles with a binge eating disorder like that. And I don't think what people realize is that it's not in the moment that's the problem. That's not the problem. I eat well in front of people or when I'm with people. It's the aftermath. That is the issue. So, yeah, just acknowledging that food and relationships, it's a tricky, tricky thing. But I think, honestly, the answer to that is you have to be courageous and you have to have the conversation. You have to have the conversation with your loved ones about the challenges that you have and the boundaries that you're putting in place so that you can take care of yourself. And folks may not understand, they may not get it, and that's okay. And you can't expect them to have the same boundaries that you do. That's not for you to decide. They may decide to have the same boundaries, they may not, and that's okay. It is okay. But it is a complicated situation, especially when you're in a family dynamic. You have family at home, like my friend who's got family at home. They're not on the same journey. And having that conversation, it can be challenging. So much empathy there, my friend. So yeah, food and relationships. And I'm thinking about this too. As I think about the dating scene, I'd love to get into the dating scene again. It's been a while. That's going to be a fun conversation. And by fun, I mean, no, it's not. It's going to be a hard conversation. It seems like the most convenient thing to do for dates is, hey, let's go grab a meal. Or let's go grab drinks. When it's hot outside, it's hard. My thought was, hey, let's go for a walk. Or let's go do something fun and active. But man, it's been hot outside. So that hasn't been possible. I know. We're going to get there. I promise. She gets really cranky around food time. And so do I, as a matter of fact. All right. So those were the main topics that I want to talk about today. We did the weekly recap. We talked about the idea of diet and maintenance. And we talked about the tricky situation of food and relationships. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, that's a tricky one. And it will always be a tricky one. It will. So finally, I wanted to talk to you about Mission 299. What is Mission 299? Well, I'm still not 100% sure I'm going to do this, but it's something that I'm thinking about, and why not tell you about it? Because, hey, you could have feedback for me. So I mentioned last time that I was thinking about making a goal of being under 300 by the end of the year. I don't think that's going to be possible. That's a lot of weight to lose in a short amount of time. That means I'd probably have to go on some crash diet. I don't want to do that. But I'm still toying with the idea because the motivation and the excitement of the chase might be worth it. But Mission 299 is I'm starting to kind of build that as a theme. And I may even drop some videos around this idea of Mission 299. And that honestly is just me getting out of the 300s and being in the 200s for the first time in, I think, almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. Wow. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Mission 299. Man, I think there could be some cool things I could do. I was thinking about maybe creating some fitness challenges for myself around that, just as a way to be motivated and to have fun while I'm doing this. I was thinking about maybe starting to chart more closely maybe do weigh-ins, maybe do some before and after. I'm always taking pictures, so that's not a big deal, but maybe taking some before and after or journey pictures along the way. Maybe doing weekly weigh-ins, doing some vlogs about it. I think there's a lot of different things I could do. I'm just wondering what would be interesting to folks. Would that be interesting to folks? Mission 299. If I was more creative, I might come up with some kind of cool design for that, graphic design of Mission 299. Who knows? Maybe I know somebody creative that can help me with that. So yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you think about that? Sound cool? Sound fun? Sound stupid? Sound boring? Sound meh? Let me know. Be interested to hear what you think. All right, folks. Well, that is wrapping it up for episode 12 of All Things Generic. I hope this episode has helped you in some manner. If it has, drop me a like, hit the subscribe button. Drop a comment. Tell me about how this has helped you. I'm really, really curious about the food and relationships. How has food and relationships impacted you? What has the struggle been for you? Where have you succeeded? What are some of the victory stories or the good stories that could help us? Would love to talk about that as well. All right, folks. Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining. Remember to aim for better this week. What are you going to do this week to make your life a little bit better than last week? It doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a little. But do something to make your life just a little bit better. Till next time, stay generic and cool.